Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce comedy legend Jeffrey Gurian.
Go for Joe, everybody. Come on, let him hear it. I'm watching the show from the back, and you guys happen to be an amazing crowd, so give yourselves a hand for coming out. So, supporting live comedy, Sticks and Stones. Yeah, so, as a matter of fact, you guys are such a great crowd. I wish I could have been here. Unfortunately, I'm out of town. Is that too weird for you guys? I did that one night, and I said, I wish I could have been here, but unfortunately, I passed away this morning. And the guy in the front was trying to figure that out. I heard him say, what is he, a ghost? Unbelievable. I'll tell you where I came up with that. I was reading the paper one day, and I read an article that said the police found a body floating in the East River. And I found myself thinking, gee, I hope it wasn't me. Crazy, right? So, how great is it to be together in person and not on Zoom, right? Yes, it's so great to be together and not on Zoom. A lot of comics tried doing comedy on Zoom. Let me tell you how horrible that was. Yeah, doing comedy on Zoom is like standing on a highway and yelling out jokes to passing cars. It's like, hey, you heard this one? Zoom! I think that's where they got the name Zoom from. And I have to tell you, I hope everyone out there is safe and well. I actually had the virus. I got it back in March of 2020 when it first came out. But as you can tell, I'm a trendsetter. I didn't want to wait. I went right out and got it. Now I wound up with COVID double pneumonia. Single pneumonia obviously was not good enough for me. I went in with both lungs, and I wound up in the hospital. It was very serious. I wound up in the hospital, and on the first 2 days, they put me in isolation. But on the third day, they put me in a room with 3 other very sick men, all with the virus. And I was hoping they were kidding me when they told me that the man in the bed next to me was from Wuhan, China. I'm like, that can't even happen. But it happened to me. I'm landing next to patient 0. And this poor old guy was coughing and choking into the air with no mask on. And when I expressed my concern to the nurse, she told me not to worry, and she pointed to a thin curtain that was hanging between us. And I thought to myself, how foolish of me to have been concerned. Everyone knows if you want to protect yourself from a deadly virus, you hang a thin curtain around you. Well, too bad Dr. Fauci didn't know about that. The thin curtain business would have totally blown up. So after 4 days when they stabilized me, I didn't argue when they were willing to send me home. But there's a lot of post-op complications with that stuff. They don't tell you this. A lot of post-op complications. There's a lot of swelling. So I ordered some compression socks. And the compression socks come in a small plastic bag. And the small plastic bag has writing on it. And what the writing says is, beware of suffocation. Keep this bag away from babies and children. This bag is not a toy. That's the line that really stuck out to me. This bag is not a toy. Because I thought to myself, are there really parents out there that need that clarification? That might mistake this bag for a toy? How sad would that be? I mean, how bad of a parent would you have to be to even consider giving your child a small plastic bag and trying to pass it off as a toy? So let's see, Christmas is coming. We need to get Johnny a present. How about this small plastic bag? It even has writing on it. I hate to see that child's face when he opens his present, especially if he's old enough to read it. And it clearly says this bag is not a toy. Crazy. So even after 3 years, it's still weird to me to see people wearing masks. I live in Manhattan. People are actually still wearing masks wherever you go. Now masks masks are weird, but there's one great thing about masks. Masks are a great equalizer. Everyone looks good in a mask. Right? So it's obviously not people's eyes that make them unattractive. Yeah, it seems to be the rest of the face that serves that purpose. Yeah, whoever thought you could go into a bank wearing a mask and they wouldn't call the police, right? Now we can call the police if you're not wearing a mask. Speaking of the police, crime is out of control in New York City. Crime is completely out of control. You're not safe anywhere. I left the hospital, I was mugged by a doctor. And I knew he was a doctor because he wiped my neck off with alcohol before he put the knife to my throat. Then I was, even in the emergency room, I turned my back for 1 minute, I caught some guy going through my bloodstream, which is probably the weirdest joke I have ever told. For some reason, I just needed to say I caught a guy in my bloodstream. I don't know. But, yeah, crime reporting has become very politically correct. You can describe the crime, you just can't describe the criminal. You can say what he was wearing, you can say his height and weight. So now if you think you see the guy, you have to measure and weigh him first before you call the police. Crazy. Crazy. So you can probably tell just by looking at me, I fit in wherever I go. It's amazing. I just kind of blend into every crowd. You know, the truth is, I don't know if you can tell, I was a very nervous child growing up. I've had a stomach ache since 1964. And I wasn't even born until 66. I was a very small child. I was born 9 months premature. And they didn't think I would make it, and unfortunately I didn't. We should go with that earlier joke that I told, that I'm passing away this morning. Yes. No. Do you guys know who Josh Groban is? You know, the famous singer, Josh Groban, right? So I have a friend, and he looks a lot like Josh Groban. And he hates it, because wherever he goes, people stop him and tell him that he looks like Josh Groban. Because for some reason, people think they have the right to stop you and tell you who they think you look like. So he calls me in the night complaining that wherever he goes, people tell him he looks like Josh Groban. I'm like, what are you complaining about? At least you get somebody normal. I get if Phil Spector had a baby with Elton John. Which could actually happen, by the way. But it's so funny because people think it's funny if you know what you look like, right? And each and every one of you swears you know what you look like. But the truth is, you know what you look like to you. If you want to know what you look like, ask somebody else to describe you. But if you really want to know what you look like, ask a little kid to describe you. Yeah, trust me, you don't want to kill yourself. I asked this little kid to describe me. He looked at me for a minute. He's like, if Phil Spector had a baby with Elton John. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I'm like, you're a little kid. How do you even know Phil Spector and Elton John? He's like, Google, you jerk. And then he took it one step further. He said, you look like you wandered away from a rock concert in 1968 during a particularly intense acid trip. I was like, that's amazing, kid. You're only 1 year old. Yeah, it was 1969. It was during the Woodstock Festival. How could you possibly have known that? And he didn't answer me. That's when I realized that I just made him up for the purpose of that joke. Yeah, but it's true. We have no idea what we look like. A lot of crazy stuff happens to me. Like, I went into a store recently, and I bought something with my credit card, and I give the woman my credit card, and she looks right at me, right in my face, and she says to me, "Thank you, ma'am." I wish that wasn't true. And I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified. So I turned around hoping that there was a woman behind me. Yeah, but there wasn't. Now, truth be told, this has happened to me before. but only from the back. Because from the back, I'm pretty sure I look like a lesbian. So I did the only thing I could think of. I looked her in the eye and I said, "You're welcome, sir." And then I curtsied like the proper lady that I am. And I got the heck out of the store. That's about all you can do in a case like that. And it's so confusing. It's very good. So many things confuse me. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of things confuse me. Like, don't you hate it when you wake up in the morning and you're really in the mood to vote and there's no election? What do you do in a case like that, right? How do you take away that urge to cast a ballot? You know? You know that night when you're supposed to turn your clocks ahead an hour at 2 a.m.? Yeah, what if you're supposed to meet somebody at 2 a.m.? What time do you show up? At 1:59, you're still a minute early. 1 minute later, you're an hour late. You can't do it. It's not possible to do. So many things confuse me. You ever notice? You never see an infant that looks familiar to you. You never hear anybody say, "You see that infant over there? I can swear I know him from somewhere." You never hear that. I went into a store recently, I saw a sign that said occasional furniture. Occasional furniture. I'm like, what the heck is it when it's not furniture? It's like most of the time it's a sweater, but occasionally it turns into a king-size bed. 3 days a week it's a pair of pants. The rest of the time it's a roll-top desk. It's a spider web and a room divider, which is basically what that joke was, except that neither side seemed to like it. So many things confuse me. God, you know what confuses me? The headbutt. The headbutt totally confuses me. How come only the guy receiving the headbutt gets hurt, and not the guy using his head like a freaking hammer? It's like, what is there, some secret agreement in the headbutt community that only one guy gets hurt at a time? Giving some guy a headbutt makes no sense. It's like shooting yourself, hoping to get the guy behind you. No sense at all. And you know what else confuses me? The fact that people don't seem to care about certain parts of their body. It's true, for some reason, people don't seem to care about their arms. That would explain the bulletproof vest. Because if I was a cop, I'd have something with sleeves. Bulletproof pants, maybe a hat. I don't know. I've never been shot, but I don't think there's any part of the body that takes a bullet particularly well. It could just be me, though. I don't know. So pants are important. I have no material on that. I just thought I'd let you know. No, I do have material on that. I want to talk about ripped jeans for a minute. Ripped jeans, it drives me insane. What is the story with ripped jeans? Why are jeans the only article of clothing you could wear in such bad shape and it's considered perfectly acceptable? There is no other article of clothing you could show up in such horrible condition and get away with it. You can't show up in a torn shirt, a ripped dress, a suit with holes in the knees, but jeans can be ripped to shreds and people love them. Now the truth is that ripped jeans are basically just torn pants. That's all they are, just torn pants. But torn pants doesn't sound cool. If you went into a store and you saw a table and a sign said sale, torn pants, there's a good chance you wouldn't take advantage of it. Right? But ripped jeans, that's cool. If you were in the street and you fell down and you accidentally tore your pants, you might say, oh, I better go home and change. But if you tear them on purpose, now it's time to hit the clubs. And designers are laughing their asses off because they're using less material and charging you more money because ripped jeans are more expensive. I saw a girl last week just wearing pockets. That's all that was left, just pockets. Both legs were completely gone, just pockets, $1,000. Poor people could never wear ripped jeans. They can't afford them. Soon it'll be like that old-time children's story, The Emperor's New Clothes. They'll be completely naked. People will be like, hey, great jeans. It's unbelievable. So, people often say that chivalry is dead. And by people, I basically mean women. Because you'll never hear a guy say that chivalry is dead, right? And chivalry, it was very big around the 1600s, seemed to have something to do with men throwing their coat in the mud for a woman to step on. I'm like, who came up with that bright idea? Dry cleaners? It's like, how would that even work? Oh, the coat's made of wood those days. You throw your coat in the mud, it magically turns into a ramp. The chick just rides over the puddle. Picture this scenario. It's the 1600s. You're walking with this chick. It starts to rain. You come up against a puddle. Next thing you know, she's looking at you. Next thing you know, she's looking at your coat. I just got this coat. This is a brand new coat. This is the 1600s. We're poor as shit. You want me to throw this coat in the mud? I got a better idea. Why don't I keep the coat and you walk around the freaking puddle? You selfish biatch. Seriously, I gotta throw a perfectly good coat in the mud to show some trick I'm polite? Throwing your coat in the mud doesn't mean you're polite. It means you're a freaking moron. That has no respect for his clothing. But what if you do throw it in the mud? Then what do, right? You just leave it there? Play it off like you don't care? Oh, that old coat? I got millions of coats. Coats mean nothing to me. Yeah, what if you were dating a few girls and it was a bad winter? Where are you supposed to get all those coats? What if you're dating a girl, she knows you have a clean coat, you show up at a house one night and your coat's filthy. She's like, you bastard, have you been cheating on me? Because no guy throws his coat in the mud for another guy. Unless you're gay, and nobody was gay in those days. That didn't kick in until recently. Let me leave you guys on this. I look out at the crowd and I see a very diverse crowd, and it's wonderful. People from all different backgrounds. And I don't care where you're from, but we all share similar traits in common. All share similar traits. As people, we tend to exaggerate. Now think about it. How many times have you gotten that call from a friend who tells you he was almost killed, but he wasn't even hurt? Almost killed. He has the nerve to say he was almost killed, doesn't have a scratch on him. And they all have some weird story, and it all ends the same way. And one more inch, and I would have been killed. I'm like, what are you exaggerating for? If you're going to tell people you were almost killed, at least have the decency to be severely injured. Or else it diminishes the severity of the story, right? It's like saying, I almost had sex with this chick last night. Really? How far did you get? Well, I called her and she wasn't home. But if she had been home, I would have totally nailed her. Which is a very romantic expression, used mostly around Valentine's Day. I would have nailed her. And it had to be created by a guy, and I'll tell you how I know that had to be created by a guy. Because only a guy would be messed up enough to compare the act of having sex with a woman to hammering a nail into a piece of wood. You will never hear two women use that expression. You'll never hear one girl say to another, how was your date last night? Great. Did he nail you? You will never hear that. And if you do hear that, change who you're hanging out with, because it's a bad crowd. Not like you guys, you've been a great crowd. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gurian. Thank you so much. Get up and turn, everybody. Thank you very much. Give it up to Joe.
Give it up for Jeffrey. You guys just get here?
Thank you, man.
Sir, that hat is a choice. That's nice. Where'd you get that from? You also own a surf shop in Santa Monica? One day? It's good to have dreams, man. Well, welcome to the comedy show. I hope you have some laughs. Well, that didn't go well. Anyway, you guys ready for your next comedian? Ladies and gentlemen, this next comedian, you might know from seeing him on MTV. Put your hands together for Ben DeMarco!
Amazing. Hamptons. This is amazing. I love it. We're here at Sticks and Stones Comedy Club opening weekend, guys. This is sick. This is dope. I like your hat. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, you guys. This is awesome.